and small countries. And South Korea did very well. At first, infections were very high. Japan did very well because, the Asian flu and flus are very common in Asian terrains. No, so Japan has this mask culture. They always you will see that when you go to Japan, they wear a mask. It's like as for some fashion statement. So these are the issues. Actually, Japan also has a very good proportion of elderly population. First, virus was attacking elderly population, but in case of Italy, you see Italy had a very large number of deaths. So these few nations, they did well. But the thing is, in case of China, as per record, yes, China has controlled the pandemic. But when their infection rate was down once, they started attacking all around the front. Now, having said that, Arunachal Pradesh, our northeastern state, China also claims that as the part of South Tibet. They call it South Tibet. And historically, these states never was, these were independent state, Northeast always has been, these states have been independent state. Assam used to be adjoined with Bengal. It was the Bengal dynasty, Bengali rulers who used to rule the part of Assam. Later, it was the Chinese invaders who created the Ahom dynasty. But it is it's a mix of Bengali culture and Ahom, which is the Ahom dynasty. The tribe came from China. So that is how Assamese culture is born. So 3 states was in Northeast. Why I'm talking about Northeast? Because it is very important, and India is only connected through Bengal Siliguri corridor with Northeast, because Northeast falls in, it's a different terrain. It's we are very much nearby to Southeast Asia, Burma, then Thailand, and over there, if China cuts off through Siliguri corridor, it's called chicken neck. I told you maybe last year as well. So then they can cut off a whole connection with India, with Northeast. Now, Northeast also has its own problem, own insurgency because of neglect of the mainland, and they also want to, there has been long years of insurgency against, and it is also Indian government, central government's mismanagement policies. And it happens, India is a very big country. It's a democratic country. Lots of political parties are there. It's good sometime, but it also holds a lot of things at bay. And so these are different issues. So the incursion, Chinese army invaded through Aksai Chin. There is a lake. There is a video circulated where armies from both sides were fighting through stones and brick bats. Okay, so why is the reason? At this point, at a vertical limit over there is a treaty. You cannot carry a weapon over there. You cannot carry rifle. You just patrol those area empty-handed. There is a treaty over there, and it is very high terrain, highest of the terrain. Himalaya. So what happened over there? There was a scuffle in the lake, nearby lake. It's called Mansarovar Lake in Sanskrit, like Lord Shiva and all those things. Chinese also have their own folklore and tradition, as does Tibetans. So that nearby that lake, Mansarovar, and it is in Ladakh actually. They have came out and put a permanent tent. Since last 62 war was a blunder on side of India. India didn't use its air force upon China. But after that, they also attacked Sikkim, 79, when Sikkim was ruled by a king and later added with the Indian Union. So at that time, they lost very bad. And even so, after that, they used to both sides used to patrol some areas. They showed the placard. No, you are in my area. You go back. But that's it. never happened. And last 20 years, almost 20 to 30 years, never this much of face-to-face confrontation has happened. Now, having said that, Chinese, what happened? I am going to tell you 3-4 points. One is in Aksai Chin, is the Galwan Valley. Have you maybe you have heard about it? A lot. Galwan Valley is the Galwan River, and it was actually with the Tibetan Empire, and when there was a Kashmiri Empire, the Punjabis or the other dynasty who have fought in war, and it was the part of India, and it was given back to Indians. But China claims because it was once occupied or was under Tibet. So those at those vital points like Ladakh, Aksai Chin, and there are a lot of points, and you cannot demarcate it because there are huge rivers, huge hills. So suppose there are, it's called in like finger, like a finger. They demarcated this at F4, F5, F6. And F12, F11, and F16. So in those areas, they have come like the Chinese used to stay behind F16 or F15 line. Now Chinese was inside of F4 almost into the Indian territory, and China has this policy of 2-step front and 1 step back. So like what happens? So when they invade you, they will invade 2 step further, and then they will go to talk. Through the diplomatic solution, they will just get back to 1 step back. Then it is a 1-step gain for them. So this is how they do it. And so what happened is, never it happens. They have came around the border and they put up tents, actually permanent tents. And they were constructing military bases, small military bases, helicopter refueling things and all. In case of air's advantage, India has air advantage because it's nearby airports and air bases. They can refuel. But in case of China, their disadvantage is it's very hilly terrain. In case of Tibet and their logistics and all those things. So what happened is they put up a tent, and Indian soldiers went over there to confront them. Tell them that you go back. This is a disputed area, and this happens always. At some occasion, and some occasions like at the time of Diwali, maybe they exchange sweets. In Chinese New Year, they exchange sweets. But sometimes scuffles happen, but not that violent. So what happened is the CEO. Tell.
I don't want to. I hope I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to get to the more into the effects of the impact that the pandemic has had on the Indian people, but not just that. Not just that. I want to talk. I know here in the United States, there is a debate on whether the pandemic is a man-made bioweapon or it has naturally evolved in nature to be bifurcated virus and bacteria that exists on surfaces, survives on surfaces and lives in fecal matter as well, which doesn't really occur in nature. I want to point that out. That would, it very rarely occurs. It's something that a virus and a bacteria have to be bifurcated together in a lab
to survive like that. So it was at first a lot of people when it gone out in China, a lot of theories surfaced, but the thing is, it is pretty much obvious that it is happened. The leak, the first infection, everything happened in Wuhan. Wuhan has the laboratory, and they do these experiments over there. And a government like Chinese government who believes in world domination, about power, and the Communist Party is like ruling the world. So
Well,
taking on America. So
yeah,
they must
India,
do it.
we established, that India has been in conflict with China at their borders, but India has been impacted very really hard with the pandemic, and India in India, people, it's very dense communities and cities. And people tend to live more communally. They have very tight-knit families. So tell us a little bit about what's going on in that way. But also, you're also experiencing other types of germ warfare in your country, such as that you mentioned at the top of the show. Black fungus, white fungus, yellow fungus. So those two things. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the origin, having said that, the origin is of the virus, it is coming out that, of course, it's a biowarfare. And if you look at the nature of the virus, it survives and tends to survive as a aerosol particle, and longer, even some cases in objects in 70 days and 18 days. So when first pandemic hit, Indian government as well didn't shut the international flights, and it came out as like usual all over the world. What happened? The first infection rate, hyped in around May, June. India put in a lockdown first, a nationwide lockdown, It's like locking up a whole country, like big as India. And if you say people are suffering, of course, first of all, before infection, it was economic impact. Because a lot of people lost job, and maximum of the people who actually goes to the cities like Maharashtra, in Bombay, in Calcutta, they are, daily wage earners. Because industries or work in here, majorly in the lower level, it is unorganized. They like daily wage, like the construction worker get paid, right? So when lockdown has imposed, of course, it was the livelihood which people lost. And millions of people stranded. There is no bus or anything. They stranded, and the migrants. And it is another issue that state versus state, there is a lot of tensions, because of the migrants and all. So the thing is, the first was economic one, and second, when the pandemic hit and the infection rate has gone up, then the crumbled. It is as usual all over the world. What happened? It is a crumbling healthcare infrastructure. India doesn't have that much of infrastructure, healthcare infrastructure for like sufficient enough for 1.4 billion people. And in the villages, in the, the rural subdivisions and other places, some states do better, some states do very better, but the other states don't. Because it's a very big region, you can say that a lot of countries altogether molded like European Union. So you can say that. So that's why people, when they say India and the healthcare infrastructure and the effect of the people, it varies from region to region. It varies as per culture and, how the execution of the administration.
India is actually very competitive. They're oftentimes the media will show, kind of rural areas of India, but India is actually a developed country that's very competitive in the global market.
Actually, the thing is, they always, if they say that India is a sleeping giant, right? The elephant, but the thing is, the elephant is still sleeping. It never woke up. That is the problem. That's a different issue, actually. Yes, I know the narrative you are saying. You are very much right. We used to talk about it when we were younger days, our childhood. We used to listen that only in foreign media, especially the German media or the UK media, and in some cases American media long ago, they used to project India in only negative way. But yes, it is true. Part of it is true. But the India has its own problem, if you say so, because India, the concept of India, you see, it's a nation. What can you say? It's long